Hi, I'm Stephen with Wisely Living. Today I'm going to show you 6 simple restorative yoga postures to help alleviate back pain. All right, so for this class, we're primarily going to be using a large bolster, something just like this. We do have a couple of other props that we're going to use if you need a modification, but this is our go-to. All the poses are going to be centered around this. If you find yourself where you don't have a large bolster, go check out our channel. We have a class that explains all the different types of bolsters, different manufacturers, their purposes, and really what my favorites are. All right, so maybe you don't have a bolster, you don't want to buy a bolster, that's just fine. Again, on our channel, we have several different classes that are all centered around back pain. The only prop you really need is a chair. So go ahead and check those out as well. All right, so maybe you're new to restorative yoga. Maybe you've got a bolster lying around, you're not quite sure how to use it. One of the key things to keep in mind with restorative yoga is the difference between active and passive stretching. Active stretching, people are really good at. I tell them to lift their arm, get a good side stretch. That's easy for people to accomplish. What's hard is being able to surrender to the process. So we're going to use this bolster. We're going to support and prop our body in a lot of different ways. And the key is relaxing, noticing the tension, the tightness, even discomfort in your body. And we're going to learn how to breathe into that and relax and surrender, which is a lot harder than it sounds. It seems like laying on a giant pillow basically would be easy. But really, I feel like restorative is one of the hardest practices that you can get into as far as yoga. All right, so now let's talk about how we're going to practice this. In a traditional yoga, restorative yoga class, we're going to hold the posture anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes. Obviously, that's going to be really boring for you to sit there and watch me relax for 3 and 5 minutes at a time. So I'm going to show you how to get into the postures, what the key things are to look for, and then at that point, if you'd like, just pause the video and you can take that time yourself. You can relax into it, take that 3 to 5 minutes, whatever feels right in your body. Remembering that you can overdo it though. So don't be pausing for 10 minutes because there is too much of a good thing. That's the simplest way to kind of follow along with this practice. I am going to be covering most of the modifications that you need. There is a handout that we have below in the comments section. So go ahead and check that out. It's going to take you through a lot of different modifications that might make some of these postures more approachable. But overall, they should be pretty easy. And if that does leave you with any questions, please leave them in the comments below. We'd love to get the interaction, love to answer questions, and make sure that you're having a really safe practice that just feels best in your body. All right, so let's get started. If you have your bolster, you don't need it quite yet, but you will soon. So one of the things that I see happen a lot in a restorative yoga practice is people think because it is passive stretching, they don't have to warm up. But we want to make, just as far as good spinal health goes, we want to make sure that we just bring like the 6 ranges of motion, forward, backward, side to side. Both angles are covered. So let's go ahead and just do a couple short warm-ups before we begin our practice. We're going to put hands onto knees. I want you to inhale and find your length with your spine, sitting up as tall as you can, and then you're going to exhale and you're just going to slowly draw your chest forward. And as you do, take your time here. Allow that lengthening in the low back. And when you feel you're ready to start moving, it's a big inhale to roll your torso up, out, and around. So we're trying to get some good lateral movement in the spine here as we go. Remember that we're always linking the breath to the movement. Exhaling as you roll down, inhaling as you roll back and around. Let's go ahead and change directions. Big inhale as we roll it on back. You want to make sure to try to get your shoulders moving as much as your spine, so it's dropping one down as it peels back. Bring that next shoulder in. Let's take one more time up and around. We bring it back to a tall spine. If that doesn't fix your day, nothing will. All right, let's go ahead and bring it onto hands and knees. We're going to set up for cat and cow, making sure that we have the shoulders over the wrists, the hips are over the knees are hips distance apart. Beginning with cow, I want you to start to breathe into your belly, and as you do, rock your pelvis forward, start to tilt your tailbone up, then draw your gaze up to where the ceiling meets the wall, or just kind of the highest point that you can. We're going to hold this for just another moment, and then as you exhale, I want you to start to tuck that tailbone under, round up through your spine, draw your chin into your chest, pull the navel up tight. And then at your own pace, we're just going to slowly go back and forth, inhaling into cow and exhaling into cat. Allowing that tilt of your pelvis to initiate each movement. And even though you're taking them at your own pace, try to allow that stretch to happen before you begin the transition. And we'll take it one more time each direction. Go ahead and bring your spine back to neutral. Sit back to your heels. We're going to grab the bolster for our first yoga pose. So we are going to do a supported child's pose. So there's a few different modifications for this. If you have a blanket, it's a really handy prop. The ways you might need this, sometimes just putting a little bit of weight onto your knees is a little too much. So just having a blanket about here is a great way just to cushion it. And sometimes it's easy to get a little bit of a foot cramp. So taking that blanket again and doubling it over, and you can just dip it right behind your ankles. And that's a good way to avoid getting a foot cramp. All right, and the last one we're going to talk about is sometimes it's really nice to take pressure off the knees. And what you do is you take this blanket, same way, kind of folded lengthwise, place it between your hamstrings and your calves. And as you come forward, that's going to take some of that weight up off of your knees. So again, I prefer to do it without. So one of the key things is I see this a lot. I call it the stink bug. You got your butt up in the air. What you really want to be able to do with this posture is get your knees out wide, big toes touching, pull that bolster there in between your legs, and then you're going to settle in, arms along your side. Now, if you notice, I don't have my whole chest up onto the bolster. Just like the bolster ends just above my navel here. And what that allows is for my chest to relax. It lets my glutes hang just a little bit heavy towards the heels. Allows for a little bit of lengthening in the spine. So once you come into this, your only job is to relax. Remembering that this is a breath-centered practice. So with each exhale, try to release just a little more weight towards your heels. And then we'll press the palms in and lift up. So again, remembering you're going to want to hold that anywhere 3 to 5 minutes, or whatever feels best in your body. So we're going to take that same bolster. Like I said, this is our primary prop. We're going to turn it lengthwise on the mat, or sideways on the mat, that is. And we're going to do a little supported side bend. So if you notice, I'm just going to drop my hips off to the side of my heels. My hip is tied up against this bolster. And the one thing we may want for this is a block. So I'm going to grab my handy dandy foam block here. I'll show you what that's all about. So keeping that hip tight, we're going to inhale and find length in the spine. And as you exhale, we're just going to slowly surrender those side ribs. Lower arm draws out, top arm comes overhead. Now, if your palms don't comfortably meet here, this is where you can introduce a block. Or you're welcome to just kind of choke onto your arm wherever your hand is going to fall. So let's bring palms together. And again, we're going to stay with that breath. As you inhale, allow those upper ribs to expand. And as you exhale, you're going to release more fully to the bolster. And where you're really going to get this stretch, it's that lower hip hanging off the edge of the bolster, that top arm reaching up. That's where you're going to get the really nice stretch, opening through those upper side ribs. So holding that as long as it feels comfortable for you, pausing the video if that feels great. And we always want to come out of posture slowly. So to press the palms into the floor and slowly lift ourselves up. The thing about being in that passive state is if we spring up out of them and engage everything real quickly, it's actually really easy to tweak your back or your hips or your arms, like anything. So just like a delicate flower unfolding. I know that sounds silly, but so you want to picture you're slowly coming up and out of this. All right, so with that supported side bend, we would just do the second side. So again, it would just be tucking the heels behind the glutes, finding that length in the spine. As the exhales, we slowly surrender the side ribs, lower arm out, top arm comes up overhead. And then as we're ready, we come back up. And for our next one, we're going to do reclined staff pose. So I just want you to take your bolster, we're going to turn it lengthwise on the mat, and you're going to turn lengthwise yourself. And we're going to bring that bolster right up tight against your glutes. Legs are extended long out in front of you. So we're going to begin this by drawing your toes towards your chest. As your calves engage, you should see your heels leave the ground. We're going to roll the shoulders forward, together, and down. want you to press your palms into the floor. And as you do, start to lift up through your sternum. Find that length to the crown of your head. Engage your abdominal muscles. And I want you to give me 3 slow, controlled breaths here. And the key is learning to master the breath, mastering the body. Knowing that if we can learn to breathe when our body's in a stressful state, that's where the magic of yoga comes in. Let's go ahead and release all that tightness. Grab those 2 outer corners of your bolster. And as you exhale, I want you to slowly begin to recline. Arms off to the sides. Now, if you're starting to lean back and you feel like this is a little too much for you, this is where that block comes in handy again. All you would do is take the block, place it underneath the head part of your mat, and then it's just not quite so far to go back. As for me, I really prefer being able to go for the full lay back. So when we come in, legs out a little bit wider than your hips so your feet can comfortably fall out to the sides. Arms are along your sides, palms facing up if that feels comfortable. And the benefits that we get here is opening through the chest and relaxing the low back. If you think about most movements that we make, it's hinging from that mid-spine and drawing the shoulders inward, whether we're on our phones or driving or gardening or doing the dishes. So in this one posture, it allows us to kind of change that positioning of the low back, expand through the chest. So much like the last posture, your job here is to relax. And we do that through our breath. Noticing points of tension, tightness, discomfort, or even pain. And as you inhale, I want you to visualize all of your breath coming to one of those points. And as you exhale, let it leave with your breath. And taking as much time as you need to do this, trying to bring your body into that perfect state of relaxation. And again, pausing the video here if need be, and giving yourself 3 to 5 minutes to really surrender to the process here. And when you're ready, we're going to step the heels right up towards the glutes. We're going to dip the knees off to the right. We're going to come on up to seated. Next, we're going to move into a supported supine twist. So we're just going to take that bolster. We're going to place it right about the bottom third of your mat. We're going to extend the legs out long. And I always like to start by just relaxing the knee to the chest. So as you can see, I'm drawing my right knee in. I'm relaxing, I'm releasing, I'm getting that really subtle stretch down the hamstring and into the glutes. And when you feel ready, you're just going to drop right arm off to the side. You're going to use your left hand to guide your right knee across your body. And this is where that bolster comes in. A lot of times people are uncomfortable and exacerbates the back pain if their legs just hanging. So being able to bring that knee into the bolster is really nice. And then we'll make our way back out. Of course, switching sides. We just flip that over to the opposite side. We'd be bringing the left knee into the chest. And then releasing, bringing that left knee to the bolster. Left arm out to the side. And then coming back to center. Again, taking as long as you like in either of those postures. When I say as long as you like, I mean not too long. All right, so we're now going to move into a supported butterfly pose. So we're going to take that same bolster. We're going to move it to the end of the mat. You're going to scoot your glutes right up against it. You're going to put the soles of your feet together and let your knees hang open wide here. And the nice part about this is when we relax our bodies to a hard surface, that natural separation starts to happen. So sometimes lifting your head up, lifting the shoulders, maybe pressing into your heels and lifting and laying back down the low back. And you'll notice you'll start to release differently to the floor, allowing for that separation to happen nice and slow. So taking the time that you need here. And then we'll be moving right away into our next posture. So this one can be a little difficult, which is why I made it the end. We're going to extend the legs out long over the bolster. I come into like a bridge pose. So the weight is in my heels and shoulders. I just like to pull that bolster up over or up under my hips. You can also kind of crab walk over it, or you can just have it get up, relax into it, and kind of slowly make your way back. And this may not be, if you are having like severe back pain, this probably isn't the posture for you. Remember, your job is to recognize what feels good in your body, what doesn't, and then adjust accordingly. So once you're supported, we're going to go ahead and just stick those legs straight up and down. There's so many health benefits. This is traditionally done legs up against the wall, but it's the same basic posture. And I always like to take and just roll out the ankles one at a time, both directions. Our ankles do so much for us, and rarely do we take the time to stretch them out. So just taking the time, going both directions with both feet. You can let your legs fall out to the side if that feels good. You can also go soles of the feet together, heels towards your groin, creating that diamond shape with your legs. There's a lot of different variations. If you want to draw your legs a little more forward, that's okay. We're just bringing the thighs a little closer to the stomach. We're not trying to go into like full plow pose or anything. We don't want to do any pressure on the neck, just adding a little deeper stretch. But one of my favorites here is to draw the toes toward the chest, push your heels up like you're pushing your heels into the ceiling, and we're going to hold this for a 5 count. And then we're going to release. Just bring about that sense of weightlessness as your legs float straight up and down. When you're feeling ready, you're going to go ahead and bring your feet back to the floor, lifting up, removing the bolster or rolling off to the side, however is easiest for you. And I always like to end my practice with a short little Shavasana. So just extending the legs out long, arms off to the side. And I want this to be a self-guided Shavasana for you. So take that time and tune into your body. With each exhale, releasing a little more weight towards the mat. And then begin that process of scanning again, looking for that tension, tightness, discomfort, or pain. Inhale, drawing your breath to one of those points. Exhaling as you release it. See if you can bring your body into a perfect state of relaxation. And again, taking the time that you need in Shavasana. We're going to move on from here. So we're just going to step the legs together, extend the arms up overhead, getting that full body stretch from your fingertips to your toes. When you're ready, exhaling and bringing your knees into your chest. We're going to take a moment and gently rock side to side, just getting a nice little spinal massage here. If it feels good, maybe guiding the knees up and around in a little. Just kind of working through any discomfort you might be holding on to. Eventually making your way off to the right and coming on up to seated. So there you go. I know I kind of rushed through that a little, but it's really the best way to kind of display these restorative classes. If you want to take the time to really get into more in-depth restorative classes, go onto our website, wiselyliving.media. I've got plenty of classes that get more in-depth to a lot of props, and it allows you the time to really settle in without having to pause the video. So I hope you enjoyed this, and if you did, please like and subscribe to our channel.